There you go. All right, I'll just state that this is ONNX Edge Working Group meeting on August 21st. We have currently present me, Milan, and an offer just joined, and then Saurabh and Yedong. Standard crew. Okay, so let's get started. We have kind of sort of packed agenda, I think, this time, especially because the workshop, ONNX workshop, is this Friday, and so I shared. Let me share my screen first. Share. Do you guys see this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the agenda that I shared over the weekend. So I would like to review the slides, or that we are going to go over in a meeting on Friday, and then maybe continue with some reviews that we started and we were supposed to do last time around, but we didn't start on them. So there you go. But before doing that, I just want to briefly update everybody that I mean, for transparency reasons, obviously, I did reach out to steering committee about 2 weeks ago. In preparation for a workshop, I felt like, okay, let me raise something, and this is like about this working group, and sort of ask them for advice about the kind of how do we increase participation to this group, right? Because you know, it's this standard set of people, but I felt like, you know, I should raise it up, because is that enough? And you know, what is in the end, you know, how this translates to credibility of output of this group, right? I mean, to you know, if community participation is not bigger. So that is one of the things that I think that I would like to address at the workshop, and see how we can increase participation, especially now that we are at the stage of defining these profiles, and this is, you know, in more involved work as well, right? And how, you know, help will be great. And it cannot be that only, you know, 3 of these, you know, Qualcomm, Intel, and Huawei care about Edge, right? And so there you go. So I just want to share that I did reach out to them. They replied. They said, "Oh, this is important work. Let's obviously try to reach out individually to other companies. Let's try to identify who these other companies may be interested in." But definitely, this is one of the things that I'm gonna, I think, highlight in a workshop, because I would like us to get somehow higher participation in this working group. So let me share my with that, you know, just to make sure that you are on the same page and you know about that. I am gonna share the slides I prepared for the, or at least draft of the slides I prepared for the workshop. So basically, we have, this is the first slide. I'm gonna start right away fleshing out contributors to the working group. Actually, not me, but Ofer will present on Friday. Agenda. So this slide is gonna cover I don't know if you saw it, but the agenda for workshop calls for 10-minute status brief about the progress, so I guess, of the working group, and then there is a 45 minutes breakout session. So this slide is covering both. So just for the status update, 10 minutes piece, I have you know, updates since March workshop, and you know, this is basically one slide just to flesh out where we sit, who we are, and make sure that everybody understands these are the logistics in place. Go to this GitHub and you'll find information, and all that stuff, right? I don't want to repeat that. Maybe I should do it this way. And so there is some animation. Okay, so that's one. I hope that's, stop me and ask questions with anything if as I go. Progress report, the next slide. So we had 30 meetings, including this one, since March, and we are publishing meeting recordings, notes and recordings on YouTube channel. By the way, we are the only group or SIG or whatnot that is doing that on a YouTube channel. And I think I suggested to at least Prashant, who is in steering committee, that I don't see a reason why all these workshops shouldn't be recorded and put on YouTube. I mean, if there is a YouTube channel, I mean, why not, right? But I don't know what's going to happen because that seems reasonable to me. So we completed and published 2 documents. Statement of work and edge scope and profile definition document. They are published and we use artifacts folder. And then we have currently what's going on. We have proposals currently under review. And this is about prototype profile and prototype template. That is the document we did, kind of went over in a couple of weeks back, sorry, month maybe ago. This is what Offer put together. I don't know if Saurabh, if you saw it, but yeah, it is there in discussions material. If you go in a GitHub, you'll find it there. And then profile topology map. This is something I said I'm gonna try to put together, and we tried to. Agenda was for the last time, for the 2 weeks ago to review, but however, we didn't have audience, so we decided not to. And then there is a profile compliance workflow, which is something that last meeting me and Saurabh discussed, and Saurabh offered, like, okay, can I, he suggested like putting together some proposal for overall profile compliance workflow, right? And so I think he may share today some of it. This is on agenda. I hope we get to it. And so next slide is now. I don't know how many of these slides actually. I put it still in these 10 minutes. I think some of them we may move later on, and this is part of the discussion here. So I say statement of work. Basically what it does, and we define some goals and milestones, right? And I just wanted to kind of highlight that from the statement of work. And that's, again, pointer where it is, and that's a highlight. And then the other document, yeah, so we are here currently. And then edge scope and profile definition document. I think that this is the one from Yadong drove and updated, but then I moved it to the artifacts folder, just so kind of to publish it sort of officially. Not moved it, copied it over rather from the discussion material. And I just put this together. What does it do? It defines the scope, and this is how we define the scope of the edge. And then it defines attributes, really. And these are the 5 attributes we identified. And that's kind of highlight of the document. And then I want to flesh this out. Challenges. Well, I think it's gonna be challenge. It's a scope of the edge, right? It is everything by cloud, right? It is, really this blue rectangle. So it's a big space. I mean, you have infrastructure, you have edge devices. Even the edge devices, they have a lot of different kinds and so on, right? So challenges, in my view, is really, this could lead potentially to large number of profiles, and is that maintainable? Really, in my mind, I'm not sure. This is the question for everybody here to kind of I think voice their kind of opinion. And identifying profiles, really, it's like, it's going to take a lot of time potentially to identify all the profiles when with such a large scope. And then second challenge that I mentioned before we started about this, it's about community participation. I think that raises a question about the relevance of the Edge working group if we don't have a bigger participation, honestly. We now have a lot of work ahead of us, especially with such a large scope, and we would like to have bigger participation. We would like to plead in this workshop to the community and audience to make sure they participate. If they care about the Edge, they should participate. That's my message. So anyway, this is our first 10 minutes, and that's what I had put together so far. A breakout session. It is. I should. Okay, let me remove this animation. Anyway, so I don't know. For 45 minutes, I thought, okay, we could flesh out again this thing, because this is really what we are, where we live, and what we want to, define profiles based on. So I think repeating this slide, or actually just not using this slide in a 10 minutes overview, just because 10 minutes may be too little time. So we can just move those 2 slides into the breakout session. And that's maybe would be the best to do anyway. So bottom line, and a brief overview for the audience in the breakout session, how we define the scope and what are the attributes. And then we have several proposals under the review. I mean, I would like to flesh these proposals out. I think that is opportunity for us to do that in a wider audience, and get input, because we have this one approach. It's this prototype profile, which is one way to start defining profiles. I have this profile topology map, which I will try to get your feel on after this, after we go through these slides. And then there's a profile compliance workflow. So I think we could try to flash all these 3 proposals together and get input from folks and get some sort of feedback. And so that is what I have basically. This is like currently what I have. I think honestly this piece here needs more content afterwards. I didn't get to adding, but at least this is my proposal for the agenda, and there you go. So thoughts. I mean, I thought that potentially I could move these 2 slides, this one and this one, into the maybe, or at least this one, move it into the breakout session. So we have really, I think that if we move these 2 slides down, I think then, for example, this should be enough for 10 minutes of update.
So I think, I mentioned it a few minutes ago. I think one of the issues that we have which may affect participation is that people don't really understand what do we mean by cloud, by Edge, which is like not cloud. So getting the drawing that you moved, which is like slide 10, to kind of separate it to 2 things. Just have one slide right at the beginning saying to people, this is the Edge working group scope. Everything that you see here is the Edge working group scope. Not talking about attributes or anything like that, just to use this drawing without the text, just to describe what is the working group scope, and have it in the 10 minutes, because when you get to the breakout sessions, people go either to this one or another one.
Yeah. I mean, actually, here it is about. That's fine. That's why I was struggling, maybe we can do what you just said. Maybe just have this as a drawing up and say, okay, this is the edge. And because if we, I don't know, guys, what do you think? Do you agree with these challenges that I listed here?
Fully.
Okay. So, you know, again, if we bring this, I guess that's why I had this slide here, because before introducing the scope of the edge and challenges, I wanted them to see what currently our scope is, right? And I mean, rightfully so. I mean, all this is potentially edge. I mean, you know, just today I was reading an article how much
Yeah, so if you look at this slide,
infrastructure edge is gaining in importance.
Let's say that you take this slide, you even put it like even up front, even before slide number 5, and just write, this is the edge working group scope of work. This is what we call edge. And just
Okay,
remove
so
the...
You mean, let me see, this is here, that's fine. So do it here and basically...
have the title something like, what is the edge working group about?
I guess I need to change layout here. Anyway, we can do this.
So one small comment here, Milan. Do you think sometimes the concept of profile becomes too abstract? And if we be more specific and say execution profile, that would help people understand what we're talking more. So, you know, we're basically talking about how an ONNX model can be run differently, right?
So, okay. So I don't know. I mean, I'm open to suggestions. I mean, it is definitely currently about execution, about inference.
Correct.
But I mean, this is where what we did state in our statement of work and really profile definition is like, yeah, we are defining profiles about, you know, running the models, right? It's not necessarily training or anything, right? It's just running them.
Yeah, I just felt like even talking to others in the ONNX community, I don't think they understand very well of what we're talking about. And if they get some of the specifics and the impact, then it would really resonate with them, and they would be like, "Oh, this is important. We need to go talk to these guys."
So I agree with you that you know, maybe it's a good thing to reiterate what we mean when we went on describing profiling. What does profiling means? And at least to me, and maybe it's something that we want to reiterate again in the slides, profiling end up to a list of use cases mapped into ONNX models that a profile needs to go through compliance in order to describe any system as compliant to this profile. So maybe there's a...
So I don't know. That is definitely breakout session topic. I mean, I think this is where at least let's see if this intro 10-minute overview is good enough to.
Let me say it differently, maybe.
Okay.
So this concept that we're pushing for, it's related to edge execution profiles, but folks on the data center too could benefit from it, right? They could have container profiles or they can also extend the same concept in their world and benefit from it. The same attributes they could also use. We look from as a cloud as an offload element. They can look at edge as a local compute element. And the concepts could resonate with them also the same way, right?
I agree, but why do you call it execution? I would say it's compliance. it's not about execution. Well, it is, but it's more about compliance to me.
It is both, actually. It is executing model to so people can. It is really. If I go here, the goal is that to define profile. Where is this thing? Where is the? Did I lose the other? Oh, here. This one, right? So it's about compliance. I also see it as about the compliance, meaning like people can use the definition of the profile and run the compliance workflow to make sure and say, okay, I am compliant with this edge profile, meaning like covering these models, these scenarios, and these operators that are covered by that profile, right? So yes, you need to execute for sure. It's execution in play here as well. But I don't know. I'm looking for the right way to kind of maybe call it. You want to call it here edge execution profiles?
Yeah, I would. That would help us be more specific and people to understand what we mean by that. It's not, the edge profile or something. This is edge execution profile. So you're being more specific into what we mean by the concept of profile. It's something that is specified in the model files. It's something that you need to be aware during training. It's something that you need to be aware when you are going to run it. The runtime should be aware about these attributes. So then that concept will have, maybe changing the name is the thing, or maybe not even. I just mean that we need to be more specific to the people up front, so then they can come to our breakout session also.
But
Okay.
so I'm still not clear on why do we call it execution. Like, what other types of profiles you envision having?
So
I agree with you that it's something that should somehow get into the modern definition.
I mean, maybe I think there's an inference in training, and that is like the two key concepts that are in this space, right? And maybe because maybe the way I see what Saurabh is saying is, there is this breakout sessions, there's a training breakout session, and there is, and so if people understand that this is not about training, this is just about compliance, and then it's not about training compliance, it's about runtime or inference compliance.
Right. So like, let's say the edge profile that we have defined, all that infrastructure could also be used by somebody running the same thing in the cloud, in a container, right?
Would this help? What I just typed? Or I don't know. I mean, I think, okay, I felt like, okay, I can see some yeah, your point here. I mean, maybe just separate this. This is not training. Just say it's not training.
Training should be aware about it. So if a user wants to specify that I want to train for this profile, so that gets, those considerations like accuracy and all those are modeled in. And the output of the training cycle has the right attribute there. But otherwise, training shouldn't care, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, training profile. It is inference and compliance. I mean, so maybe that's why I call it inference compliance. Maybe that's something to kind of flesh out.
Correct.
In this overview, or make sure that the people understand upfront that what is breakout session going to be about. That's I guess a valid point. And so,
yeah, we can speak to it. We don't need to change the verbiage. We can just speak to it that this is what we're talking about.
Okay. 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 So okay. So we are 30 minutes in. Okay. So it seems like everybody seems okay with this outline here. And for the 10 minutes for the breakout, I don't know how to go about this. I didn't put anything. I need to I will need some help here from you guys about this. If you agree with this agenda for a breakout, how do we go about this?
Maybe before it, Saurabh and Yudong, are you going to be in the workshop?
Ofer, I would be there.
Okay.
I will not.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can break down the breakout session into people driving different parts. Like Saurabh.
Yeah. So this second bullet is me, and I actually you guys didn't even see this yet. So maybe I should. I would like you to get some feedback on this as well, because I think it depends on your feedback, and then when we can decide to mention it in a breakout session as another view on the whole profile definition or not. So, but for now, if to Ofer's point, I think it seems like then Ofer would drive this and Saurabh would drive this, right? In the
Sure.
And by that, how do we prepare for it? I don't know. You will need put either few slides, or you go and put the MD document somehow up. I will have to leave it to you guys to kind of put some kind of material here.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Right?
Yep. I don't know if we'll be able to review all the content today, but we might have to meet tomorrow or day after before the workshop.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's not much time now. It's Friday. I don't know if any follow-up meeting tomorrow will be beneficial for everybody.
Maybe you can just flash out this on emails. Or well, the question is, do we want to do it on the Gitter channel, or do we want to do it on emails? I think I'm fine with either.
I guess public to Gitter channel would probably be preferable. If you could put something in you put something and put it just in. Can you attach to Gitter or no? You can't, right?
No, you can only provide links, I believe.
So if we have a GitHub, we can put stuff in a discussion material folder, or in a pull request as a discussion material, and then share that way. I don't know. I mean, I'm all for kind of efficiency. So email is also okay. It's not necessarily public, right? And that's the only thing, right? That I would like to avoid going through emails and all that.
I might have to stick with the email for the time being. Still working through the licensing and legal stuff.
Okay. Well, then let's. I mean, if everybody's in agreement with this working group audience here, then please, send it to the all four that are currently in play here, and this is just in the context of preparation for the workshop, right? And then we have to kind of act quickly for the workshop. So that's fine. Let's do that. Share it over the email then, unless anybody objects. I just don't want to kind of make it sure that everybody's on the same page. Everybody's recorded.
Yep.
Okay, so.
By the way, Miran, about the template, I think we forgot to ask Prashant if there's some kind of standard template that he wants to use.
For the slides?
Yeah.
I don't think so. honestly, nobody mentioned anything about it. It was pretty much free form in the past. So yeah, we can ask.
Okay.
We can ask for sure. It wouldn't be hard to kind of pull into different templates. That's okay. Okay, so then let's then follow up like that, like share maybe proposal for this breakout session for this item and for this item. I would like to maybe, yeah, and this is gonna stay here, I assume. I think Ofer, you can kind of decide or not, but this slide here is about this first bullet, right? And I don't know if you need more than this, but I think in a nutshell, this summarizes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would like to switch a little bit, if that's okay with everybody, to second bullet, which is to kind of put up this proposal for the top level profile breakdown and just get your opinion about it. I did put it in discussion material, so it's there on a GitHub. You can see it. Where is it? Oh, here. So what my intention with this was like to try to start put up sort of obviously topology map, but hierarchy, right, of these edge profiles. How do we go about it? I mean, we had one prototype which was about smart speaker, basically, right? But then I thought, okay, how about we start from based on really you know, the picture, I mean, the drawing or definite scope of edge, really. You have edge infrastructure, and then you have edge devices, right? And then you define profiles based on really use cases people care about. And so what do people care about? Well, there is the image profile, there is audio profile, you know, and I thought, like, how can we you know, define these profiles and what would make sense? So this is what I kind of came up with, and I started saying, okay, maybe there is a basic profile, there is advanced profile, or something like that. I mean, I don't know the naming wise, but you know, you could say that, for example, basic 2D image profile. And then you say, okay, use cases are computer vision use cases, and that we identify, we specify some models, right? I don't know why this is not breaking, but capability should, interesting. I don't know. It doesn't render properly. So my here, if you see this, use cases and then models, maybe models, whatever we identify. So this is how you define the profile, and then the capability. What does it mean? Maybe this is more description that I want to discuss. Like basic means maybe meets some accuracy, has some expectation on latency, input resolution, and so on, right? And then you have advanced profile, maybe, which is, you know, really, you know, very accurate and very fast and very. But in edge infrastructure, my point here is that if you think about it, we have 5 attributes, right? So the latency, the speed, the latency, the size, the accuracy, the power, and data locality. And then, you know, from edge infrastructure perspective, you know, it's stationary and wall powered predominantly, right? And really, what are the profile attributes of most relevance? And to me, it's accuracy and latency, right? In the edge infrastructure. If I would move down to edge devices, it's kind of, there are 2 subcategories. There is like mobile, to me, which is battery powered, and then you have stationary. devices that are also edge devices, like, you know, could be a camera or something which is wall powered. And then we try to kind of build our profiles around it, and you specify when you say edge device basic to the image profile. And then you have edge infrastructure basic to image profile. So people can say, I'm compliant with this profile. And this is like hierarchy. You see how this can go, right? I hope you see it. And so I don't know. I mean, this is in a nutshell what I was trying to brainstorm with myself here. Like, how do we build these kind of profiles? And maybe this is the way we can bound the scope of what we are defining as well. Because, you know, maybe it could be basic, nominal, and advanced image profile, and it could be basic, nominal, and advanced audio profile.
So, a couple of questions here. Milan, do we expect these attributes and profiles to be mandatory, or is it an optional thing in the model?
What do you mean? No, I mean, we identified the attributes, and we said that we are going to put some ranges on attributes. When we define profile using attributes, we would say, okay, there are 5 attributes, and each of them could be we decided not to be strict, but rather resort to ranges, right?
I meant the ONNX file that somebody produces.
Yeah.
It cannot be an ONNX file if there is not a profile, or is profile an optional thing?
Profile is an optional thing, I guess. Well, let me see. We define profiles with the purpose of compliance, right?
Correct.
And so people will say, I'm compliant with this profile, meaning I can run. I'm compliant with the attributes specified with this profile and with the models or scenarios that were identified as a part of our compliance, right? And they could say, I support these models and this operator set, because this operator set comes out of the profile definition through the scenarios, right? And the models. So the models we identify for each of the profiles will indirectly, implicitly define the operator set, right? Now, so is it optional profile? I mean, nobody is, you know, ONNX specification and operation definition will evolve on its own. Here, we are defining a subsets of these operators, right?
Correct.
That people could say and validate and say, okay, I am compliant with this subset. This is the way I see it.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Actually, taking the question a little bit different and more to the high level, is profile really need to be something inside a container? I'm not sure that a container, like, what's the goal of adding a new field inside the container that says profile?
Makes sense. No, I think once Milan is completed, then I can talk about a little bit of some of the thoughts I had, and maybe I should be able to address your question often.
Yeah. So the other thing is, like, I don't know if you think about this. I mean, there are some open questions here. Is like this data locality and aspect that is like, you know, you could have I thought a potential subtype based on the data locality, because you could have audio profile that is all local processing, and could be audio profile that is counting on you know, offloading.
So for data locality, is it a binary field, or should we make it like a quality of service where you can even specify some metric, a number there, to say, you know, this is my network bandwidth, or this is the quality that this model requires? Just
So
like accuracy.
I'm not sure. I think it is potentially tied to the other attributes, right? So if you say um, I can meet the profile latency kind of spec here, but without, if I do everything local, that is to me kind of indication that of capability, right? Um, whether we could put some sort of a QoS, quality of service, or KPI, or some sort of metric on the data locality, I'm not sure how to do that. I don't know right now off the top of my head.
But basically, data locality, getting back to some discussion we had back on differences, like a case where take audio processing, I can do the entire processing of the voice or the language on device, or I can do it in some kind of a hybrid fashion, part of it on the device, part of it in the cloud, or I can do everything remote. So when you look at data locality, what it maps down to in the use case that I just described, you already got 3 separated levels. Either it's completely local, it's kind of half or hybrid, or completely remote. So
Yep.
I agree with you, it's not a binary thing. We need to figure out some value, some way to express it, but it's definitely not a binary.
Yeah. So
So go ahead, Milan.
yeah, I get it. I get it. It's you need like 30% local.
So how I was going with it was, like NVIDIA has a work group going on around data pipeline. And they want to expand the operator set from pure ML to also add other aspects of your pipeline, right? And some of those could even be expressed in the model file. And ONNX Runtime has a concept of execution providers, right? And you could essentially create a graph and describe it in such a way that you can say, this much is happening local, this subgraph is happening local, and this subgraph is happening on the cloud.
Wow. Okay, so that's a good kind of data point, I guess.
So we could have like execution providers say, there's a CPU execution provider, run this much on the CPU, then we can have this, here I have a fixed function or a DSP, let me run this much of subgraph into this DSP, and this much is going on to the cloud. And a quality of service would be relevant for those kind of usages.
So I think, okay, fair point. I think that, but I mean, I'm also looking for your kind of view on what I was trying to do here. Does this make sense? Versus like we have other approach which we discussed with Offer last time, which was another view. So we defined more very specific profile, which was technically composite in terms of combining video and audio. It was a smart kind of speaker device, right? So this is another view how to try to define profiles, and I was wondering of how do you think about it? Which do you think is maybe better or more scalable way to do? We could go and start defining profiles based on real use cases in a wild today, like smart speaker is a one, and smart camera is another, and robotics is a third one, and
yep.
But it's like,
makes sense.
How do you put the bound? Which way do we go? Maybe that's also a point for discussion that I would like maybe to get some input from audience, maybe in a workshop, and how to bound the scope. or profiles, number of profiles we want to define.
Okay. So we have, you think that we should bound it first, or should we keep it open-ended?
I mean, no, decide which direction we want to go. I mean,
Okay.
is it like very use case, real life specific to what is happening today in a real life, and you know, variety of companies that do stuff in this space. You know, there's people that are doing robotics, and people that are doing this. You know? So maybe they'll decide, oh, I would like to have this profile that is very specific to what they do, right? Uh, Huawei could come up with something that is very specific to, for example, what is being done on the edge, right? What I'm proposing here is much more generic. I feel, in a sense, like, okay, if I am compliant, say, with a basic audio profile and a basic 2D image profile, I'm also compliant with my basic home speaker. In a way, indirectly, right? I mean,
so a device is a composition of profiles, basically.
yeah.
An edge device is compliant to a multiple set of profiles, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, that was my thinking, because these are the real generic use cases: image processing and audio processing, right? I mean, if we maybe define a couple of these, and I don't know what else could be there, but then technically, whoever built the device, being that automotive or robotics or this, they should be able to combine to say my device combines these three profiles. I mean, that's my thinking, at least.
So in a way, we can say there is a sensor type. Sensor can be audio sensor or a video sensor. You can have, in case of automotive, a LiDAR, or
Yeah.
in a case of virtual reality or augmented reality, you can also have 6 dimensions of freedom sensor. So there is a sensor type, or I don't know, sensor is one way to describe it, but maybe there's another way. And once you define a type of sensor or a type of input, then you can have multiple levels inside, basic, advanced, so on.
Okay, so good that you mentioned that, because this is where, when I said specifically here, when I put this, I didn't put computer vision profile, I put 2D image profile. There are so many sensors, even LiDAR, radar, that really could translate to 2D image, right? They are not necessarily just a vision or camera sensor, right? And yes, I use computer vision here as a use case, but you know, this could maybe be generalized to other sensors as well, right? That's my thinking. One, I mean, I'm not sure is it accurate, but your point is valid. I mean, there are other types of profiles tied to the sensor type, and maybe it could be 3D image profile, right? There could be something that is three-dimensional, and so on. And so it's tied to the it's tied. This is tied to one or more sensor types, so there you go. I mean, that is potential direction we could take. Data locality was good comment. I don't know how to identify like how to take data locality into play. It could be fully local, fully remote, and then at least 50% local. I don't know. I mean, that could be
What about bandwidth? We could just, it's a field that if you say yes, which means it's fully local, then, or you are saying no, then you specify a number there that this is the bandwidth available, or the model producer has specified that this model requires at least this much of connectivity with this much quality of service.
Okay. That's an interesting point. I think I believe we did discuss this in our meeting. I mean, when we discussed attributes, but then ended up not having it. So not to say that we cannot change our attributes, but because you're
So I meant in the attribute that you have data locality, it
okay. So
could be two fields. It's like it's a structure of two fields, and the first is a binary field, and the second field is something that we say is quality of service. Again, it's optional, right? Not everybody has to populate.
okay. So okay, I'll be okay with that. It seems reasonable. Sure, it could be kind of component of data locality aspect, bandwidth requirements, right?
Yep, bandwidth. Essentially, because these profiles, I perceive them as a way. It's like a contract, something that model producer is specifying in the model and saying this is how you need to run it, and the runtime platform needs to comply to it. Now it has a guidance that, okay, in order for me to run this model, actually I need to do these things up front. I need to make sure I'm connected and I have this much of quality of service, or I have this much battery power, or I have this much memory, things like that.
So you see the profile as part of the information in the ONNX file.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that changes our scope, or sort
No,
of.
because it's optional, but
So, hey, sorry, hey, you have just a few more minutes, but I wanted to make sure that I don't know if you have actually any time now to switch to Saurabh's compliance proposal thing. Saurabh, do you want to use a few minutes to kind of just flash the idea right now, or we can just finish with this?
Either way, we can finish this and we can switch on, but we're out of time too. Do you think we can meet tomorrow?
I'm out. I think it's up to Offer and you and Yadong now to kind of decide. I cannot do it tomorrow, but
I think we can meet tomorrow, but not at 8. I have a meeting. Actually, even let's see. When
I can meet anytime you guys want. More or less, I can meet at 7, at 8, whatever works for Yadong and you.
well, Yadong is like the biggest out, because he's in China, right? So I'm not sure. For him, even this is late, right?
It's okay. It's okay. It's only 11:58 p.m. or something.
That's only.
It's just a little bit before midnight.
Offer, if you're available at 8, it works for me. But if 7 also works for me.
I'm sorry. I'm booked until between 8 to 9:30.
Okay. What about 7:30?
Maybe we can meet at 7, but only for half an hour, something like that.
Okay.
Will that work?
Yes, definitely. It will at least give me enough time to, change the content or of any sort. So at least by the time for workshop, the content will be ready for that, right?
Yeah. So where should I put the PowerPoint? I mean, I guess Offer maybe could be master editor for the workshop, and then we could put it up on obviously on a GitHub after the workshop with like this is the slides we presented. Would that be okay, or I don't know? Should we? I can share an email because we said we are going to do it through email, right?
Let's start with emails. and then afterwards put it somewhere on in the
Okay.
GitHub.
Okay, I will send this slides to this audience over email as a draft, and then we can I guess update for the I guess Wolfer, you're gonna be master editor then for okay. Sounds good. Well, I can set up, or you offer. Do you want to set up invite for tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, hey, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon, I guess, after I come back.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.